Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, there's a new report that LaMelo Ball wants out of Charlotte. But does anybody want him? Meanwhile, the Clippers continue to slide and the Clippers continue to win without Wemby. Plus, we look ahead to a big matchup between two title contenders. Let's jump in.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in on YouTube or your podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today we're talking about what's going wrong with the Clippers, how the Spurs keep winning without Victor Wembanyama, plus we look ahead to tonight's biggest NBA Cup matchups. And we're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
We're in this weird era of parity where there's like a lot of really good teams, but also the teams that are bad. You have like the tanking teams that'll just get worse as the season goes on. And then we have teams like the Kings that have just given up on basketball life. Like it is bad. It is bad. And it's only going to get worse. We're going to see like these historic margins because the good teams are pretty great and the rest of the league is pretty good. And then the bad teams are atrocious.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast, he's also a Bulls and Bears creator for Bleacher Report. It's Haize.
Just thank God that none of us cover the terrible teams in the NBA. So there you go on that one.
That's a great call. Haize, you and I, our team's going at it tonight. We'll talk a little bit NBA Cup action later in today's episode, but let's start with the news from Kelly Iko of Yahoo Sports, who wrote that LaMelo Ball has grown increasingly frustrated with the Charlotte Hornets, and he's open to a trade away from the team. Here's more from our old friend from Locked On Hornets.
I think when I say it was inevitable, I mean that LaMelo Ball is an extremely talented player that has not been able to stay on the floor, and the Hornets have done a lot of losing. They've recently expressed interest in not doing as much losing, and they also have a rookie class that looks really great right now, and there's just a sense of like this team needs to move in a direction. What direction is that going to be? Is it going to be with LaMelo Ball or without him? A couple of years ago, we would have said it absolutely 100% has to be with LaMelo Ball. He's too talented. He's too special. He creates advantages that only, a select few NBA players can. He makes plays that only a select few players can. But then the injuries happened, and that changed everything.
Matt, does it make sense for the Hornets to explore trading LaMelo Ball now?
Yes. So we look at things from a perspective of talent, and we look at things through perspective of production, X points, Y assists, yada, yada, yada. Even the net rating stuff is supportive of LaMelo. Their problem for 7 years has been culture. It is a culture problem, and your culture is set by your best player. He is the one that dictates how hard you go and shoot around. He is the one that dictates how hard you go and work in the weight room. He is the one that dictates how serious you are about your pregame activities. He is the one that sets the tone in the locker room for how you're approaching the game. Whether there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can have it be like joyous and fun, and let's go out there and like love playing basketball. We get to do this for a living. Or you could be like all business, very serious. We are professionals. But that guy sets that tone, and that's what's missing. That's why they're not a serious organization. I understand that sounds like scapegoating. Like, what does that really have to do with it? Ask anybody in the NBA, and they will tell you that best player is what dictates everything on down. The Hornets' problem is that they are unserious. They look like a guy. They look like a team led by a guy who is most popular for highlights on TikTok. Like, that's what they look like. If you want to change that, do it. LaMelo can have success and be the player he's capable of being on a more serious organization with more structure. The Hornets, if they want to change this, have got to move him and Miles Bridges in order for them to become serious. It's not fair because he's really talented, but they need to do this if they want to head in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few examples of team having a different vibe and energy than their best player. There's been few, but there is only a few, and so you do need somebody who's going to set that tone and identity and that culture in your locker room. And LaMelo's not that. I mean, what Matt just described though sounds like the perfect player that Adam Silver wants to help promote the league. That's what that sounds like. Didn't he say that the league is available on TikTok in short form? And that's exactly how LaMelo plays. But, if you need change, and I get it why, it came out that they're not really interested. They want to see what he looks like with Brandon Miller and Con Knuppel and Ryan Kalkbrenner. And that's all fine and dandy. But at some point you need a shift. And sometimes that can happen in the locker room. Sometimes that can happen with the coach, but very often that has to happen via your roster. And they don't have a leader right now. LaMelo, for what it's worth, isn't a leader. And I don't know if they have a leader at all in that locker room at all.
I think with this rookie class too, to what Doug was saying before, Con Knuppel, you feel really good about Kalkbrenner. You feel good about McNeely. You feel good about a lot of guys. Colin Sexton has been a really nice player for them. I don't know that they have to trade him either. He's sort of the obvious trade target that we've talked about. Teams will call. But now having this core plus Charles Lee, and you can kind of tell what Charles Lee is trying to install, right? They're a pretty good defensive rebounding team. Like, the pace is what it is. We know that they're going to try to get up threes. Defensively, they're still a mess. But it kind of feels like right now you have the Hornets starting to split into two different directions. One with this new rookie class. I guess you can include Brandon Miller in that and the Charles Lee team. And then one where LaMelo Ball's on the court and LaMelo Ball's on the court, and he's kind of just doing LaMelo Ball stuff.
Yeah, and that creates a real divide here. And again, I want to be clear, it's not like they're losing the minutes for the Hornets. It's not like it's going to stand out where it's oh, they're really good when LaMelo doesn't play, and then they're terrible when he does play. It's the opposite. LaMelo's got a plus 4.2 for them. They're minus 8.6 without him. Right. So this isn't a basketball thing. He's really talented. He's really good. They're winning his minutes by 4.2, which is why Jake Fisher yesterday reported, it was interesting. Eco reported from the player side that he's frustrated. And then Fisher came in on the other side and was like, yeah, the team doesn't want to trade him until they see what this looks like with Brandon Miller, et cetera. And that's going to create tension here. But my thing is just if he's not bought in, you got to go in a different direction. They will be a worse team without LaMelo Ball. They'll be a worse basketball team without LaMelo Ball. But the franchise will be in a better position going forward. Now, the problem with this, though, is are you sure that Brandon Miller or Con Knuppel can be the guy? Because it doesn't matter if your best guy is a better culture setter if your best guy isn't a best guy. That's the real danger here that they got to figure out. But then they could tank and maybe get that guy in Cam Boozer.
LaMelo Ball, not the only star point guard that's in trade rumors right now. You've got Mark Stein reporting that teams around the league are not only monitoring LaMelo Ball, but also Ja Morant and Trae Young's situation in Atlanta. And then Tim Bontemps this morning on ESPN reported that the Grizzlies will explore Ja Morant trades. Haize, from those three, LaMelo, Ja Morant, Trae Young, who do you think has the highest trade value right now, and who would you trade for?
Probably Trae Young. I wouldn't trade for. I don't like Trae Young as a player. I think he has the best trade value. I think they're also the team that makes the most sense. They've won. When you look at what their record is this season without Trae, and then you go and look at that they've won more games than not without Trae over the last 3 or 4 years as well. Now you have a much better roster. You have, most of your own draft. Hell, you just got a unprotected pick from the Pelicans. You sit in a place now where if you trade Trae now, you've already seen the results on the basketball court. You can get a decent player back and maybe also stack some assets that you can combine to get another player later down the road. I think Trae makes the most sense to be moved from his team right now because they're the ones that are winning without Trae.
It's LaMelo because I do think if you take LaMelo out of this role, I look at his game and I'm just if you have a coach that's hey, I get it, man. You got to do whatever you wanted in Charlotte. We're actually trying to win games. No more pull up 35-foot threes with 18 on the clock. Your job is to play point guard. You can shoot, you can score 40. Great. We love your talent. But we're trying to be serious here. You got to cut out all the nonsense possessions. You put him in that kind of structure where he's deferring to, this trade is almost impossible with the money side. But you put him in a situation where he has Kevin Durant and he's I'm not going to screw this up. I got Kevin Durant on my team. That changes the equation. You put him on a team with Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and that changes the equation. You put him in a winning situation. This is a two-way street. LaMelo, I think, is a big cause of the Hornets not being a winner But if you put LaMelo in a winning situation as not the guy, I think it works. He is that good as a passer. He is that good as a 3-level scorer. He is that talented. But put him on in that kind of level versus Trae Young, where I'm like, you have to cover so much. Like, you have to cover for him so much. And with Ja, there's more off-court nonsense than with LaMelo. So to me, like, LaMelo Ball is a really valuable trade chip. He just can't be your guy.
Yeah, but then you mentioned two teams that like, I get put him with KD. KD isn't a leader at all either. I don't think that situation. Now you got Ime Udoka there. You have an overall culture, so maybe that part of it. But I still have my reservations. But you never know.
If you could get a structure there where it's like he's the third guy and it's Alpi as the best operant Shingun. Sorry, that's a bad nickname. The Gooner is
a bad nickname.
The Gooner as the best player. KD is the second best player, and then LaMelo. That's like that's a hierarchy I think that works.
Not the Clippers, who have lost 9 of their last 10 games. What can they do to save their season? Or is it too late? We'll talk about that next here on Locked On NBA Daily. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo. Quo is the #1 business phone system built for 2025, not 1995. It's simple, modern, and designed to help you communicate faster, look more professional, and stay connected wherever you're working. I love that Quo works directly from an app on your phone or your computer. No extra devices, no clunky landlines. Your whole team can share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, which means customers get help faster. The built-in AI is a game changer. It logs your calls, writes summaries, and even sets up follow-ups automatically. And if you can't answer, Quo's AI agent jumps in. It can qualify leads, route calls, and make sure no customer is ever left hanging, even after hours. It makes small businesses feel big. It makes big businesses feel efficient. No wonder over 90,000 businesses are already using Quo. Try Quo for free at quo.com/lockedonnba. That's Quo, QUO.com/lockedonnba. And yes, you can even keep your existing number. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in the bag all season long. Whether you're watching for highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with the Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff that you're actually going to want. I love that it's not just food. You can get everything from snacks and drinks to headphones, ice, even socks, all delivered. DoorDash has you covered for late-night highlights, last-minute watch parties, and double overtime fuel-ups. Tyrese Maxey just scored 50 points last night, so now is the time to use the promo code NBA50 and get 50% off your DoorDash order with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only, 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply, no purchase necessary. Ends April 13th, open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We air Monday to Friday around 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's talk about two teams that are having very different experiences right now. We have the Clippers and we have the Spurs. We'll start with the Clippers, fellas, who lost to the Magic last night. They have now lost 9 of their last 10 games. They are 4-11 on the season. This was, by all accounts, the winner of the offseason based on some of the additions that they made, but Derek Jones Jr. is hurt. Bradley Beal's out for the season. Kawhi is hurt again. Haize, is it just injuries that's going wrong with the Clippers, or is there something else?
No, it's the fact that they're the Los Angeles Clippers, and something's always going to go wrong with that franchise, no matter what they do. Bad decisions. They made the Heat a more elite offensive team with the Norman Powell trade. Yes, the injuries play a part into it as well. But this was a team that, even with their acquisitions this offseason, we had questions on how that minimized the players that actually helped them be good last year, like Chris Dunn and others. Now, Bradley Beal's out, so they're getting back in there. But overall, this is just a team that's old and just has tons of questions of fit and performance. And I don't see it changing anytime soon.
I'm so annoyed that I bought into this team again. I don't know how they do this to me. I don't know how I don't blame them. I blame me. How do I possibly convince myself that this team was going to be good this year? Because we thought they were going to be terrible last year, and then they overperformed so much that we were all like, hey, the Clippers are really good. And then Haize is right. They're just like the Clippers. This is a joke. Like this last night's game was a joke. Okay. The Magic are good. The Magic are very good. Anthony Black is a plus 16 versus you. Jet Howard is a plus 16 versus you. Like, how? How are you not? Look, you can go on the road and lose the Magic. That's fine. That's a completely acceptable loss. They were never in this game. They never led. Magic led for the vast majority of this game outside the opening minutes. Comfortably. That is a joke. You have all this talent. You have Ivica Zubac and James Harden. You have John Collins. You have Chris Dunn, who was so good defensively last year. You have Brook Lopez and Chris Paul and Bogdan Bogdanovic. How do you... Haize, how do you not look at Ty Lue a little bit here? Like, how do you not look at Ty Lue like a little bit here? Like, this isn't just like Kawhi not caring and James Harden being James Harden. Like, you have serious players on this roster. You have professionals on this roster. And look at this performance. Like, they are so unserious. And that to me is unacceptable for their payroll, for their talent, for all of this. Like, I have the same leadership problems with this team as I do with the Hornets, where it's like you can't be led by James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. You just can't be. But like, how are they this out of it with a coach like Ty Lue in terms of how we talk about Lue?
Yeah, I mean, we talked before about like how when teams fail or underachieve, you either blame a player, the roster as a whole, or the head coach. And I hope this isn't a situation where they do blame Ty Lue, because I think they do need to revamp this roster quite considerably. Ty Lue is a really, really good coach. You just have given him old, decrepit pieces and expect him to polish them out and make something that's gold and bronze, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but like, okay, Harden is still a tank every night. Like, he's still a tank every night. You can't sit there and be like, Harden's the problem, right? Like, he's consistent for you in terms of what he does. They started Kobe Sanders last night, right? John Collins, not decrepit. Zubac, not decrepit. Chris Dunn, not decrepit. Brook Lopez is old, for sure, but Brook's still pretty good. Bogdan, I don't know if he counts as decrepit. Chris and Batum, for sure. But, like, the young guys are struggling too. I don't know how you look at this and go like, well, the roster's too old. I just don't know how you do that. Like, I think at some point we can't constantly praise Ty Lue when the team overperforms expectations and then avoid any sort of criticism when they go under. And this team too often over the last 5 years has gone under expectations with Ty Lue.
I think I'm with Haize. I think this roster is just really old. Like, those guys are decrepit. I just wonder if we like
roster in the league.
Chris Paul's not in the rotation when they can help it.
Okay, let me ask you.
Brook Lopez is washed.
But when you watch,
Bogdanovic is washed.
Brooks
Chris Dunn can't play more than 25 minutes in a game. They got two serious injuries.
Brooks really is actually still pretty good. Like, if you watch him, like, he's pretty good. When you watch him, do you feel like they're just old and slow?
Yes.
Even with John Collins and Chris Dunn and all these other young guys that play.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would tilt things more in that direction. Dime Dropper over at Locked On Clippers is talking about more John Collins. I think he has a point. It just feels, and this was the concern we all had, right? We all talked about the Clippers going into the year. It's like, well, what if they kind of veer too much into the veteran camp of that locker room? That's kind of what happened, even with some of the injuries that they're dealing with. It still just feels like an old team where there are young pieces on it. Maybe you're right, Matt. Maybe that's a Ty Lue problem, right? Where it's like, hey, you kind of got to elevate these other guys. Let's go to San Antonio really quick. Victor Wembanyama has missed the last 3 games, but guess what? Doesn't matter. Spurs are 3-0 in those games. De'Aaron Fox has been great during this stretch. They've beaten the Kings, the Grizzlies, and then the Hawks last night, so that's a quality win over Atlanta. Matt, what does it mean that the Spurs are 3-0 without Victor Wembanyama?
I think very little. Hawks are it was a weird schedule spot, I think, for Atlanta. So I think, and that game was kind of in doubt for a while. They pulled away. It was a really good win for the Spurs, honestly. But I'm not necessarily like sold on San Antonio based off of this little stretch. I do think it's one of the things that they're getting is like Devin Vassell has been amazing. Vassell has been awesome this year. 15 points last night on 6 of 11 shooting. Keldon Johnson, 25. Go look at Keldon Johnson's shooting splits. They're insane. Keldon's shooting the lights out. There's another player on this roster we'll get to when we get to most favorite things of the week. Julian Champagnie finally gets going, 5 of 10 from 3. Like, I think they're really well coached. I think Mitch Johnson's proven that he's a really good coach here, but I'm going to hold out a little bit because there's still enough guys on this roster that I'm kind of like, yeah, let's see how this goes as the schedule goes along.
You were there at the beginning of the season, so I mean, you are holding true to that. But they're proving it. Like they're spreading the ball out. There's so many people that are involved. They have what I think 8 players averaging double figures, something like that. But the thing is what Matt hit on towards the end there is that they're just really, really well coached. Mitch Johnson is a really good coach, and he's come up with a scheme that gets everybody involved in play. It seems like right now everybody's playing to their strengths, and he's figured out a way to put everybody in the best positions. Those are the type of teams that you typically their floor is really high, and so I think that'll continue. On top of, I mean, it's the Spurs organization. This feels very Spurs-esque.
So they have a tough stretch coming up that'll test them. They're on the road for these 4 games: Phoenix, and then in Portland, and then Denver and Minnesota. The second half of that stretch, obviously, very challenging. So a little bit of a soft schedule here without Victor Wembanyama. Gets a little bit more challenging. I think we'll learn a little bit more about this team. But yeah, they look great. NBA Cup action tonight. We break down the biggest games, including the one that we've all had circled for a while between the Nuggets and the Rockets. It's coming up next on Locked On NBA Daily. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. The new Stacks feature is a game changer. You can now pick more on Steph's points, threes, and assists in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your players leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot saves my lineup from a loss. Looking at tonight, I'm going to take all overs on these 3 in my lineup. Evan Mobley versus the Pacers. I'm going over 29.5 points plus rebounds. RJ Barrett against that Wizards defense. I like the over on 18.5 points for him. And then Isaiah Joe against the Utah Jazz. I'm going over on 1.5 made 3-pointers for him. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen every day. The Locked On podcast has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Hornets, Locked On Grizzlies, Locked On Spurs, and Locked On Clippers for more on today's top stories. Matt Haize, the NBA Cup, your favorite event of the NBA season, resumes tonight. Big game between the Nuggets at the Rockets. We've had this one circled. We talked about how important this is for Houston. This is a huge matchup between 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference. Matt, what are you watching for in this one? You'll be covering it over at Locked On Nuggets.
Yeah, a lot of interesting kind of subplots here. One interesting kind of dynamic here. Obviously, the Rockets are so dominant on offensive glass. Like that's like they're how they win games. They smash you on the glass. Denver's the second best defensive rebounding team. So the question is, can Jokic compensate for that? Is Aaron Gordon going to have to do that? Do the Nuggets counter that by trying to get out in transition? How much too big lineup do we see from both teams? Not only the Adams Şengün combos, but also the Jonas Valanciunas, Nikola Jokic combos. Because that's, if you got Jokic and Val, good luck rebounding, even with Adams and Şengün. Şengün absolutely cooked Jokic in Eurobasket play by spreading him out to the 3-point line, and Şengün shooting over 40% from 3. I expect more from that from Şengün tonight. I actually think the Rockets are going to win this game. I think that they're just being home. I expect these 2 teams to split their season series or go 2-1 if they only play 3 times. I forget how many times they play, but I do think that this is going to be a great matchup. No Christian Brown for the Nuggets, but Peyton Watson's been terrific. He's their best screen navigator. A big thing to watch is the minutes where Reed Shepherd is on the court with Cam Johnson and how often Denver can get to their split action that gets Cam Johnson downhill. That's going to be really bad for Reed Shepherd, who's been honestly awesome for them offensively. But it should be a really interesting battle. 2 teams that do not shoot a lot of threes, but shoot them extremely well. It's going to be every single shot matters a ton tonight, which is what you want to see.
Hayes, how you feeling about your Rockets?
I'm feeling really good about the Rockets. I'm not to say that it's going to be easy or anything like that. I would never disrespect the Denver Nuggets like that. But this is going to be a really, really drag out game. And I think that it's going to come down to who makes the micro adjustments over the course of the game. But I feel really good about the Rockets. I think the way that Amin's been playing, KD's been playing really well. We just talked about Şengün and how he is their best player, the one that you have the game plan for. It's going to be a really fun game tonight.
Matt, you mentioned the 2 big lineups. I don't know. Are we seeing Jokic and Zeke Naji again? What was up with that earlier this week?
Zeke Najee actually has an insanely successful streak versus Zion Williamson. Aaron Gordon rested on Wednesday. So they started Zeke Najee because they wanted to keep the bench unit together. The Nuggets' one kind of weakness is their power forward depth. They just don't have them. Like, they have AG, and that's it. Now, Spencer Jones probably plays a lot more going forward, but the Nuggets keep trying to rehab Zeke Najee's trade value, and it's not going to work. But AG will be back tonight. Do not expect to see Zeke Najee in this matchup.
Haize, the other one tonight, Timberwolves at Suns, Anthony Edwards versus Devin Booker. This could be a fun one, Haize.
Yeah, it could be. It could be a lot of points put up here. But I just think that the Timberwolves are just too much. They're better than the Suns on both sides of the ball. I think that this may be a game, but down the stretch of this game, I think that the Wolves are going to make less mistakes than the Suns. I got the Wolves winning this game.
Phoenix wins outright. They are one of the better teams in the league at forcing turnovers. Minnesota's offense is great. They're the second best offense in the league on the road. But their one weakness, again, as always, they turn the ball over a ton. You do that versus a Phoenix crowd that is amped into it with their kind of wing defenders, with Dylan Brooks and the guys that they bring to the table on the defensive end, and you're going to be in trouble. I like Phoenix's depth. I like Phoenix's play style. I like the spot for Phoenix. Home dogs, home underdogs in the tournament do incredibly well, surprisingly. This is a tournament that is dominated by the favorites unless you're a home dog. That's when they start to get, especially if you're better than 500, which the Suns are. Suns win outright tonight.
4.5 point spread. Like you mentioned, Matt, Suns the underdog in that one. Haize, my Miami Heat, your Chicago Bulls. How are you feeling about your Bulls?
I'm always confident about the Bulls. The Bulls, it comes down to if they can avoid the first and the fourth quarters are so bad for the Chicago Bulls. The slow starts, bad finishes, right? So if they can avoid that against the team, I think one of the keys for this one, over the last 5 games, your Miami Heat are 26th in the league in rebounding percentage. This game is going to be told by who wins the rebounding battle and second chance point battle, I feel.
Yeah, you mentioned the rebounding thing there. That has been Miami's biggest issue. Now, Bam coming back against Golden State, that was really huge. With Bam out, they were terrible on the defensive glass, giving up way too many second chance points. With Bam back, that's going to probably be a little bit better. It has been basically for Bam's entire tenure. Miami has been an elite defensive rebounding rate team with Bam on the court historically. That's what I'm looking at, though, is what you mentioned about the first quarter. Chicago bad in the first quarters. Miami, one of the best teams in the league in first quarters. They get out to these quick starts, and it's still the first quarter. You can't say if they get out to a quick start that it's over early, right? Like the Heat like to let these teams kind of get back into things, but that's something that I'm watching for too in this NBA Cup game. It's Friday, so let's wrap things up with our faves of the week. Matt, why don't you kick us off?
David Jones Garcia, baby, for the San Antonio Spurs. Two-way player, had a great summer league performance. He goes out there last night against the Hawks and goes 12 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, 1 block on 5 of 7 shooting, 1 of 1 from 3, 1 of 2 from free throws, and plus 25 in 18 minutes. I love seeing guys that are on the fringes get these kind of opportunities and shine. I love seeing guys that don't get to play as much getting these opportunities to earn big contracts. Him, Dennis Jenkins for the Detroit Pistons. These are my favorite things of the week. I love guys that have to scrap and earn their way, having good things happen to him. David Jones Garcia is my favorite thing of the week.
Haize?
My Chicago Bulls winning on a Nikola Vucevic 3-point shot. I'll be selfish and talk about my team here for a second. Like, considering the last 5 games that Nikola Vucevic has had where he's been god-awful, averaging less than 11 points on like 36% shooting, for him to hit a game-winning shot over this time, it was crazy.
What time? He did it twice in a row.
Oh yeah, he did it earlier. He did it a couple of games prior to that. But yeah, it's this most recent one that he hit that was just crazy.
The highlight making the rounds is Scotty Barnes blowing the kiss before the fast break dunk. Where are we on that? In terms of like Deion Sanders scale, high kicking into the end zone, like where are we on the blowing the kiss to your opponent?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I respect it. I like it. I think it's awesome. I love to see it from Scotty Barnes. He's a dog, man.
Haize?
Yeah, listen, Scotty Barnes is a player that I've kind of been up and down on, but like this season, it really feels like he's making that jump that the Raptors have been hoping. He's a good player. He's a really good player.
I'm here for originality. If you're going to blow the kiss, blow the kiss. I don't know that it becomes like his night-night thing. I don't know that we want to see it all the time, but like I said, points for creativity. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We're going to see you right back here next week on Locked On NBA Daily.